Welcome back to Chasing Masculinity, the podcast where we talk about what it means to be a man in a world trying to erase it. My name is Colton Wutzke, and I'm not an expert here. I'm not a scholar, and I definitely don't claim to have it all figured out. I'm just a man who's made a lot of mistakes and learned a few of those lessons, and I'm doing my best to apply this timeless principle of masculinity. Failing most days, but refusing to quit. Today, I want to talk about the power of mentorship and why it's necessary to learn from the men who have walked before you. Because if there's one truth I've come to realize over and over again, it's that no man becomes strong on his own. The best men are not self-made. They're sharpened by the men who came before them. Mentorship isn't a luxury. It's not something reserved for the corporate world or for church leadership. It's essential to masculine growth. You don't need 1,000 followers. You need one man who's further down the road than you are, willing to speak the truth and walk beside you. And that's what this conversation is about. Why every man needs a mentor. Why friendship isn't the same thing. And what to look for in a mentor, and how to maybe become one yourself. Chasing Masculinity's mission has always been simple: to help men build lives of strength, responsibility, and purpose. Not based on what culture says, but rooted in wisdom and history and faith. That includes learning from those who have done it better, because iron doesn't sharpen itself. Proverbs 27:17 says it like this: as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. That is the heart of mentorship. One man sharpening another. Not through comfort, but through challenge, truth, and a shared struggle. Let's get into it. Let's start talking about why every man needs a mentor and why isolation is the enemy of growth. So what are the modern lies about masculinity and independence? Men today are encouraged to be self-made, lone wolves who have figured it out all on their own. The cultural messaging is real men don't ask for help. They're stoic and silent and solitary. But the biblical truth and practical experience that I've seen actually say the opposite, and that's that men sharpen men. I don't like going to Home Depot and asking somebody where whatever I'm looking for is. I want to do it on my own. I'm obviously better at it. I can just go in, grab what I need, and leave. But I'm usually walking around for 30 minutes lost and have to ask for help anyway. The idea that asking others for help is somehow unmasculine is a weird and false trope of masculinity. There's an actual cost to isolation too. There's lack of guidance. There's no one to model your behavior or your discipline or your values after. There's also a lack of correction. When you're alone, you assume your path is right. You have no one else to tell you otherwise until the consequences of your isolation come. Then there's also the lack of growth. You can't grow that well in a vacuum. You're going to be limited. Men grow through challenge and feedback and the accountability that mentorship and brotherhood can offer. And there are some very real-world impacts of this isolation. Think of fatherlessness. 1 in 4 children, according to the U.S. Census Bureau in the United States, grow up without a father in the home. This actually leads to significantly higher rates of incarceration, dropout, depression, and substance abuse. How depressing is that? Grown men still carrying the scars of their absent fathers and often repeat the cycle unless someone actually intentionally breaks it. This is a tragedy of modern masculinity. There are so many men who have no model of discipline or character. Many men never saw a father wake up early, lead them in prayer, or to actually love their wife. Without these models, it's easy just to default to media or to culture or to this peer validation. That's why mentorship is the cure. It reconnects you with this legacy. It helps you find this direction. It helps you establish this truth, especially if you don't have that elsewhere in your lives. It gives men an anchor, a north star to recalibrate themselves against. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." It is not weakness to be guided. It's actually wisdom. So what's the difference between mentorship and just friendship? Friendship and what it offers is great, but friendship is horizontal. You have shared experiences. You have mutual encouragement. Friendships are on the journey with you. They're shoulder to shoulder. Their role is support and laughter and camaraderie. And that's where mentorship is a little bit different, because mentorship is vertical. There should be some level of gap in experience or insight or spiritual maturity. Mentors are further along. They've walked roads you haven't yet. Their role is to challenge and to correct and to guide, even if that difference is little. And maybe it goes both ways, but there should be some sort of give and take from the learnee side of the relationship. There are some key differences too. Friendship is going to affirm, while mentorship is going to help you refine. Friendship is going to listen, while mentorship has the ability to teach. Friendship might comfort, but mentorship is going to confront. Your friends are going to share in your life. Your mentor is going to shape your life. A friend may or may not, but will most likely agree with your decision. A mentor will ask you why you've made it. Mentors don't tell you what you want to hear, they tell you what you need to hear. Think of Jesus and the disciples. He taught, he corrected, he rebuked, and he equipped them. He wasn't a buddy. He was their guide. Now, that's not to say that they weren't friends, and that's not to say you can't be friends with your mentors. I'm just saying that there's going to be a clear difference in the role of that relationship. Mentors can become friends, and friends can offer mentorship. But the purpose and posture of each relationship are different, and confusing the two can lead to some misplaced expectations and potentially some stagnant growth. So how do you find a strong male mentor? Well, I'll tell you what not to look for. Don't look for perfection. Your mentor does not and cannot be flawless or be rich or be famous. You don't have to look for someone who thinks just like you. There's diversity in perspective that is often going to bring deeper insight. And don't look for somebody who's just right where you're at, maybe a little further. You need some depth, not this immediate proximity. So the things that you could look for would be a man of character, not just credentials. Someone who has fruit on the tree, not just knowledge, but actually real life results. These qualities should be humble and God-fearing, proven in marriage, career, fatherhood, or spiritual leadership, and transparent about his failures and what he's been able to learn from that. So where can you find this man? Well, start with your church if you have one, elders, pastors, men in ministry leadership positions. Then you can expand that to your community, older men who are active, involved, and respected, whatever community level that would be in. Could be family or friends, uncles, grandfathers, or father figures that you trust. And even in your workplace, men with integrity who are successful without compromising their values. If there's somebody in a management position role or somebody above you, or somebody that's further along in their life than you are that you want to learn from, your work could also be a great place to explore that level of relationship. So how can you approach a mentor? One, you have to do it with humility. Don't pitch yourself as a peer. You have to ask with respect and clarity. Would you be willing to grab a coffee sometime? I admire your character and would love to learn from your journey. I have a question about leadership, discipline, marriage. Could I ask you for your guidance every once in a while. Make it clear that you're not asking for therapy. You're not asking for a weekly 2-hour call. You're just seeking some level of wisdom and accountability that you can potentially grow into a relationship with. And be careful to avoid the trap of celebrity mentorship. So Instagram influencers, authors, YouTubers, they're not your mentors. You can learn from them, absolutely. But real mentorship requires a relationship and feedback and some level of presence. The lessons that a mentor can teach you are deep and insightful. Experience is a brutal teacher. Mentorship helps you learn without you actually having to go through the bleeding yourself. This pain teaches, but wisdom allows you to learn from somebody else's scars. A mentor doesn't eliminate all the hardship in your life, but what he will do is give you the tools to help maybe you face it better. And I hate to say it, but there are just some lessons you can't learn from books or podcasts. You need to learn how to navigate failure. Books can explain failure, but mentors can actually show you how to respond to it in real time based on your current experiences and journey. It's okay to fall. Here's how to get back up without losing your identity. These are the things that they can teach you on an individual level. They can also teach you how to stay committed to your partner or your wife. Only a seasoned man can tell you how to choose her daily when the feelings fade. A mentor can speak to the long-term haul fight for love, not just the Instagram highlight reel of marriage. They can teach you how to lead when you're tired or angry or doubting. Every man is gonna hit a wall. Mentors can show you how to lead anyway. This is what I did when my tank was empty. They can also teach you how to make peace with your past and how to make your own future. Only men who have lived through the regret and restoration can teach you how to rebuild that after failure. Think of Paul and Timothy. Paul calls Timothy his true son in faith. Paul didn't just preach at Timothy. He walked with him, challenged him, entrusted him with leadership. Mentorship in Scripture is about presence, not this performance. Think of former NFL player Benjamin Watson. He often credits older teammates who mentored him on how to be a husband and a father while navigating all those pressures of success. They weren't formal coaches. They were present men who led by example. So I want to take a step back and go back to what happens when men don't have mentors. I'm not saying your life's going to fall apart and if you don't have a mentor, which obviously most men don't, that everything is terrible. I'm just saying this is an amazing tool to help you grow as a man. Men, without these mentors, might drift without some anchor in their life. Without this guidance, men can easily become distracted or just downright discouraged. They could pursue temporary wins like money and status and pleasure without that long-term direction, especially by those who've been able to see the other end of that tunnel and can give you guidance on how to navigate it a little bit better without pursuing the more hedonic pleasures that are going to leave you deeply unfulfilled at the other side. And we've clearly seen some cultural consequences of this mentorship gap, this isolation society of modern manhood. There's been a rise in anxiety. Young men are more anxious than ever. And it's because a part of that is they're navigating manhood alone. And obviously fatherlessness. This is deeply tragic. But boys are growing into men without any male voice affirming or correcting them. They're getting sent off to public schools where 90+% of the interactions they have with adults is all female. You need to have a strong male figure in your life. I've also never seen a higher level of purposelessness. That means you have no purpose in life. When no one shows you what you're capable of, you're going to default to this passivity or potentially addiction. There's two dangerous mindsets when pursuing mentorship. One, I already know enough. That's that pride masquerading as self-sufficiency. These men don't grow because they think they've already arrived. And the second is, I'll never be enough. That's shame masquerading as humility. Now, these men are also going to stay stuck because they don't believe they're worth being mentored. There's also a wisdom gap. Knowledge does not equal wisdom. A man may know everything from YouTube and podcasts and still live foolishly. That's that earthly knowledge. That's that thing that you learn from other men. But it doesn't matter how much you know if you don't know how to live it. That's where wisdom can come in. Wisdom is biblically, it is divinely given to us, and other men who have walked that path can help you explore that wisdom. It's how to apply this knowledge. So lastly, I want to talk about how to potentially become a strong male mentor. Now, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. If no one's ever mentored you, be the man you wish you had. You don't need a degree or a title or a million followers. You just have to have integrity and intention. So what makes a great mentor? 1, integrity. A man whose life is consistent behind those closed doors. Now that leads to consistency. That's a man who shows up, follows through, and tells the truth every single time. They are the same man. You also have to have some level of vulnerability, willing to share where you failed and where you've got back up. And lastly, I think this is the most important, is faithfulness. You have to be grounded in the Word so you can speak about life with this encouragement. So what are some ways to actually mentor others? You can simply lead a small group through your church. You don't need to be a Bible scholar. You just have to be willing to sit down and guide a few other men. Invite men into your rhythm. Take younger men to the gym or to lunch, or involve them in whatever projects you have going on. And then also be intentional with your time. Don't just hang out. Ask a few deeper questions. I know men don't really operate like this. It takes a long time to learn very little. But just slowly get to know each other a little deeper and speak about your lives so they can speak about theirs. Going back to the biblical model of Paul and Timothy again, Paul didn't just preach doctrine, he walked with Timothy. It wasn't necessarily a follower-followee sort of relationship. They walked together. Paul encouraged and corrected him. He called Timothy to boldness, not comfort. Mentorship is discipline. It's slow, it's real, but it's also life-changing. So what are some ways that we can actually apply this in our day-to-day life? 1, do a little self-examination. Do I have a mentor? If not, why not? Is it just fear of rejection, pride, lack of initiative? And ask yourself, are you truly open to being mentored? Do you actually seek advice, or are you just looking for some level of affirmation? Then ask yourself, are you teachable? Do you always want to be right? Do you always want to talk and be heard but not listen? Some practical steps to actually go through is you can identify 1 to 2 men in your life who live with this integrity and purpose, and reach out to them this week and just connect. Ask to connect intentionally. Be willing to meet them where they're at. Then you can journal those lessons from the older men who have spoken in your life, even if it was just a one-time meeting. And you can also look to be a guide to somebody younger, even if it's just a single conversation over coffee. So that's your challenge. Stop asking only, what do I do? And start asking, how did you become the man you are? What struggles shaped you the most? What do you know now that you wish you knew at my age? These are the sort of things you need to intentionally and honest and earnestly seek from mentors. So, as a final thought, as we wrap up this very short episode today, no man builds himself alone. If you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, you need to walk with the wise. Mentorship, it's not optional. It's not a nice to have or an extra credit assignment for the real ambitious man. It really is essential to masculine formation. It's how legacies of masculinity are built. And it's how men become who they were called to be. So here is your call to action. Find a mentor or be one, preferably both. If you're younger and feeling aimless, reach out, ask for wisdom, swallow your pride. You don't have to figure this all out on your own, and you will not be better if you do. No one's there with the trophy at the end of the tunnel saying, because you did it by yourself, you're now better than others. If anything, having that mentor is going to help you go further than those trying to do it alone. And if you are further along, don't wait till you feel ready. Don't wait for someone to come to you. Someone out there is praying for a guide. Be that man that you wish that you had. It's a final reminder, keep chasing masculinity by learning from those who have walked before you and by becoming the man that someone else will look to when it's their turn. Thanks for tuning in to Chasing Masculinity. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep chasing.